Hey, what's up? Can you hear me?
Look, there's someone here.
Hey, what's going on? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're a little loud.
I'm loud.
Yeah,
Um, if I turn down my sound, is it better? Can you hear me now? Is it
yeah, you're
better?
good. You're good. I turned mine down a little bit too. What's going on?
Well, I saw the meetup and I thought I'd come back in. I've been here before and I wanted to um, get back into doing some pair programming.
Nice. What have
Um,
you been up to lately?
oh, I've been doing side jobs just to make money. I've been looking for work for a long time and not getting it. But I've gone to some cool JavaScript meetups. I live in Astoria, Queens, so I've gone to
Mm-hmm.
some of their local meetups that have been kind of fun. On my side, I'm working with Eleventy, and I also want to work on a project with Color JS, which is what's her name? Vera, I forget her name. Uh, it's it it's like does like Hex or HSL or OK. Um, I forget the names of the new color scopes, but I don't know very much about JavaScript, so um, um, I've been struggling with that project.
Gotcha,
So
gotcha. Okay, cool. I'm gonna go ahead and share a project tonight that we started. And if someone else has a project idea and they want to work on something with other people, that's totally fine as well. We'll give everyone just a few minutes to actually pop in and normally people are trickling in until like 9:05, 9:10. So we'll give everyone just a couple minutes. Nathan,
okay,
what's
cool.
going on? I don't know if you have a mic, Nathan, but you're muted right now. On the bottom left, you should see a red microphone. If you click that, your microphone should be turned on and you could talk. Surya, what's up?
Hi, hi. What's up?
What's going on?
Nothing much. I just woke up from a really long nap, feeling really groggy.
Gotcha. Gotcha. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna share what we worked on yesterday until other people trickle in, just to give y'all an idea where we're at. So, and there's a couple things I noticed because if you look at the code here, oh, let me go ahead and share my screen. So, actually, let me do frame rate 60. All right, I guess I can only do 30. Or upgrade to Nitro, which isn't a bad idea, but I'm not going to do it right now. So if you look at my screen, basically, let me go ahead and share the Lucid chart as well. Um, all right. So for those who are already here, you know that we're just building a zip code entry. User enters their zip code. The server is going to verify the zip code, see if the zip code's already in the database. If it's not, it's going to create it and set it to 1. If it does already exist, it's just going to increment the existing count and then it's going to store it in the database. We also have a admin dashboard that's going to be a map. Initially, we're just going to set the admin dashboard to be to like display the numbers, but eventually we're going to put those numbers into a map. So there was something I was looking at yesterday, just as far as how we go about mapping the zip codes to a map. Um, and so basically what we would want to do, what's going on, Anton? What we'd want to do is for each zip code, we have to find an API that shows the zip boundaries. And then based on the zip boundaries, we're going to be able to create a polygon. And the polygon on the map is basically going to create the shape of whatever zip code it is. So these are the coordinates that show the polygon class, which shape to draw. And then we're going to be able to fill in that polygon based on the number of zip codes that have been entered. So this is our admin dashboard, and you can see, I was just asking tons of different questions right here. Get color based on the density. So we could go ahead and change our density. It doesn't have to be 50 or 100, but you can see that anything that is over 100 or 1,000 will be dark green, and I'm sure they'll change as more zip codes start coming in, but that's basically it. But right now we just got the database set up. So for those who were here yesterday, I don't think anyone here was here yesterday. Nope. So basically what we did yesterday was we created a client component, which I actually thought twice about. I think it would be better if this was a server side component, but you can see we have an H1 repair, then we have a form. We're passing in, we created a form state, which is initially set as an object with one field called error, and it's set to an empty object. When you go ahead and, what's going on, Lahitha? When you go ahead and submit this form, this use form state hook actually sends this initial object, the error, the form state, to our server action. So you can see we have our input, we have our submit button, and then we have, when you click this submit button, this form state is going to be sent to our server action. So you come over here, you see our server action. This is actually happening on the server, and we created an interface for form state that we know is going to be have a field called error. It's going to potentially have a field called zip code and one called forms to handle like if a user is not logged in or if there's a database error, that sort of thing. And then if you look at our server action just to verify a zip code, we're never actually using form state. We just have to pass it in because that's how this server action gets the form state from our component on the front end. And we pass in the form data, which is just going to be this simple input right here. We created a form validation here with Zod, and we said we want it to be a length of 5. If it's not a length of 5, forward the message, which is going to be an error message. And we want it to only be numbers. And if it is not successful, then we're going to return our form state. So the object with an error field with an error from our validation. If it is a valid zip code, then we're going to go ahead and get it off the form data. We're going to render it as a string. We are going to check the data. Hey,
Pawan?
how are you?
Okay.
I'm just sharing what we worked on yesterday. If after I share this, we're gonna go ahead and just introduce ourselves or whatever. And I just wanted to keep things busy while we're waiting for other people to trickle in. So let me go ahead and finish this real quick, and then we'll go ahead and we'll just discuss what we're gonna be working on tonight. Cool. So we checked the database for the zip code that was entered. If the zip code exists, then we go ahead and update the zip code by incrementing the count of how many of those zip codes were entered. If it does not exist yet, then we go ahead and we create a record and we initialize it as 1. And you can see we got that right there. We could actually just go ahead and do, I believe, zip here as well and zip here as well. Cool. And then we're gonna go ahead and for those who are here on Monday, we're gonna compare that zip code against a list of serviceable zip codes. Right now, we just have static zip codes right here. Eventually, we'll be pulling in zip codes from an API and plugging in real data with it. We're just gonna wire it up first to make sure everything works. And yeah, then we'll revalidate the admin map every time 10 or every time the zip code count is perfectly divisible by 100 or 10 or 1,000, depending on how many zip codes are entered at once. And then, yeah. So the point of this is it's just a simple input on a UI that allows potential customers to enter their zip code to see if they're in a serviceable location or if they're not in a serviceable location. If they're in a serviceable location, it redirects to a form that allows them to sign up. If they are not in a serviceable location, then it still brings them to a form with um, different message. One of them is saying you are serviceable, sign up. The other one says you are unserviceable, you can't sign up, but enter your information so we can notify you when you are in a serviceable location.
Yeah.
And once those zip codes are stored in the database, we're creating an admin dashboard, a map with Google Maps or another map software that basically colors the map based on how many zip codes have been entered. So
It would officially become a condo if he sold
it could help the
it to us.
hey, you
Right now,
got a
it's
lot. Hey, you got
like-
some background noise. Just a heads
I
up.
don't know if there's like specific people who,
Mute.
you know,
Let me just message. Cool. All right. So Anton, I thought you weren't gonna make it tonight.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for another webinar to start. That's why I could just jump in and address that race condition I found.
Yeah, yeah. What's that one?
It's actually here, yeah, because like we are selecting zip code,
Mhm.
like by actually zip code, and then we decide what to do, create a new one or update. And like if several users will search for the same zip code at once, and we will increment it, we will have race conditions. So like something will be wrong because like there are several types of race conditions. And to address this, I propose to use atomic operations. Actually, I wanted to create a PR, but I don't have right access to repo. That's why I just make an issue and put my code inside that issue. I've posted a link in the repair shop.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, I saw that here. Let's see.
Yeah, it's like I've changed that if to absurd. So absurd operation, it will create a new record if there were nothing found for this zip code, or if it's found, it will update this record by incrementing a counter by 1. And
Mhm.
then I just at the end I just check if we actually done that operation or not, and just log it.
And then what if multiple users are calling the upsert method simultaneously?
It will be like the idea here behind everything is to do select and update at the same atomic operation. And this way, like with increment, it will like this is the way how Prism does it, like as one atomic operation. So it will be um, like separated operation select plus update. And
And so so you're
it will just
saying
grab that information from like selecting something and update it, and nothing else, no other connections could not like change that exact record at that like in between select and update. That's
Now,
why it's
so what
it's
you're
called
saying,
atomic.
so what you're saying is the database doesn't have functionality built into it that locks up this particular table if someone's already using it?
It DB will do that in this way with atomic operation through increments in Prisma. But if like in the current situation, in our current code, we do select separately from update. See like yeah, here we do select, then like something like milliseconds or whatever happens, and only after that we do update operation.
Do you have a
And
the
in between
documentation
of the,
that said
what
how do you I was under the assumption that if this zip code table is being accessed by another user, that it's not going to be able to be modified until this transaction is complete.
I don't see a transaction here. That's the reason. Like between select operation, this one, and update operation at 45th row, like I don't see a transaction. I don't see it wrapped in transaction. It's just two separate queries to DB: select query and update query, or create query. And that's why in between that operation, I understand that it should take like milliseconds, but it could easily happen that several users will go for the same zip code. Like we don't have so many zip codes to avoid that intersections, and it could happen that we will have like you know how it works, that race condition. For example, we
Yes.
select the same zip code and we have like 10 counter 10 for both users, and then one user incremented to 11 and another user incremented it to 11 and just like rewrite the previous one. So at the end, after two users do that, we will have like 11, but it's supposed to be 12, because like there are two operations, 10 plus 1 plus 1. But with the race condition, we will have that 11. That's why it could lead us to really unexpected bugs.
Yes. I got what you're saying. So if we put the create and the update right inside the upsert, then it's
No.
going to
It's just for like absurd here. Here is I using like two things at once.
yeah.
Adding absurd to like to remove if statement, and do that by incrementing operation in Prisma. Like it's a Prisma way. So in other languages or RAMs, it could works like totally different. But I've dug into Prisma docs, and I found that this is the way to do that atomic operations through
Okay.
increments. If you can open my code again. Yep. So this update count, it's a field, and increment, it's one of the four accessible atomic operators in Prisma. There is in a documentation. I could post a link, I believe, if I have it. Like there are four of them, so it's increment, decrement, multiply, and divide. And all these four operations will be done like as a whole. So it will be select plus update
Okay.
all at once. And
Yep.
actually we don't need to do that like additional select before, and that's why we don't need to like to get that counter and then just counter plus one and update it with this one. So it's like more convenient way to absorb without if and like atomic operation to avoid race condition. So like
That makes
everything
sense.
in one.
And then And then this one right here, upsert user dot count is not equal to 1, then log this error to the console.
Yeah, it just need to be double checked. This this if statement, because like in
Greater
theory,
than greater than or
in
greater than or
theory,
equal to 1, right?
no, if it's equal to 1, like in theory, we should receive like 1 for update or 1 for create. So like if everything is okay, it should be 1. But
Oh, so upsert, the response to upsert user is gonna have a count of 1, even if we increment it by 1 and the total is
I believe,
now like 10.
At least it works. I don't know how it's actually works in Prisma, but in general, in different ORMs from like other languages that I'm familiar with, this operation should return the counter of rows updated. So if we create one record, it should return 1. If we update one record, it should return 1. That's why I just check with if it's not 1, then something went wrong. But
Okay, let's try this out.
it should be double checked, like just to be sure. Because
Let's try it out.
Mhm.
All right, I believe the one that, all right. Yeah, I entered a ton of different ones yesterday. All right, so we could go ahead and try 10,000. I believe 10,000 is already in there. So 10,000,
Mhm.
check. That has a count of 3. Let's try it again. Count of 4, count of 5. All right, so yeah, count's not always gonna be 1 on the return. It's gonna be the total.
So it's a total one. Then
So it has to
we
be greater
can't.
than or equal to 1.
Yeah, then we can't like check a successful operation in this way. But I
Yeah, because
believe
if
like
this is unsuccessful, it's gonna return null, I believe. So
yeah. Actually, I believe that every operation should be checked for being successful, and if not, just to log it somehow. It helps a lot in the future with like observability in general and like maintaining code.
so we could even just do if no upset user, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because if it's null, then something went wrong. Something went wrong with inserting the counter for zip code, yeah. So that should be good.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Cool. And then that takes care of the race condition. This will lock up zip code once someone uses this. And if let's even if 1,000 people enter zip codes after this person starts, it's gonna wait until the transaction, the upsert
Yeah,
is
yeah.
complete.
It's
Okay.
I understand it's like not the best thing to have like that waiting period, but uh, other way we will just have that race condition and it will be even worse. That's
That makes sense. Perfect. All right, that sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And what about right access to repo? Because I don't know what is like the proper way. Because I couldn't push my code. I just wanted to create a pull request for this, but
I
I
went
don't know.
ahead and I set up the GitHub for this project, but I haven't gone ahead and set up like GitHub projects or anything. I was looking at project management software because most of the coding I do is just by myself. So I've never
Mhm.
really like worked on big
Yeah,
teams like this.
just to know how I should like do things like this one, for example. So it's with an issue or with pull request, because like in general it's like pull request based usually. Because in issue it's like more like to report an issue, but not to address it at the same time. But like this situation is at the same time with reporting an issue, and it's like
Mhm.
more for pull requests.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Yeah, we can look into that for sure, and we'll set
Mhm.
that up as soon as possible. If you have any suggestions on the best way to set it up to allow contributions, definitely let me know. And
Usually,
yeah,
like
if it makes sense, I'm down to try it out, you know?
uh-huh. Usually it works in this way. You give like write access only on demand, plus just block several branches to push it into. Usually it's master and dev, or
Mhm.
just only main or master, whatever.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and I should create a feature branch, and then we could create branches off of the feature branch for like individual to-dos, that sort of thing.
Yeah,
At least
it could be
that's how
this
I've
way. And they could
yeah.
push code to the branches and like create a pull request to main or develop, but not to merge that. And access to merge that should be only like on your account or maybe someone else where you just
Yeah, if someone's dedicated and committed to the
Mm.
project and they want to step up and take some responsibility, that's totally fine with me. Like I said, I'm working on like I have a main project I'm working on that I'm really focused on. So yeah, thank you. That's good. Yeah, if anything, send me some links or some more information about setting up the best way to for contributors, and then I'll go ahead and implement that. And I'm gonna do my own research too, but if you forward it to me, it might be a little bit quicker.
Mhm. Yeah, just
Cool.
like
Perfect.
the main thing here is to block master branch for pushing and like merge and pull request. They are just to block master branch at all, and there is a specific button inside GitHub repos.
Yeah, I believe it's in the settings somewhere,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
The
yeah.
permissions and yeah,
Mhm.
okay, cool. All right, cool, man. Let's see. We have, let me see if, all right. So Anton, we have a couple new people here tonight. Audrey, what's up? Ch Chaitanya? Chaitanya? Hey,
Hey, hi. I'm
how are you?
Chaitanya. I'm good.
Chaitanya.
So, yeah, I'm Chaitanya.
Cool. Welcome. Where are you checking in from?
I live in Texas, down nearby Dallas.
Okay, nice. Cool.
Yeah,
Uh, what frameworks or languages or what kind of stuff you working on now?
I'm a complete newbie. I was willing to learn something, so I just thought to join something, and I think I found the right spot. So just looking for you guys and checking on what you guys are doing.
Cool.
Honestly,
Yeah,
with the framework, I have no idea.
cool. Yeah, I have a bunch of open source projects that I want to launch in the next year. So the one we're working on right now is Repair. The whole purpose of this
Okay.
project is to allow people who have zero experience in fixing things to eventually develop skills to fix computers, hardware, that sort of thing. And so we're
Okay.
starting off with a simple like vacuum appliance repair because vacuums are almost the simplest of all things to repair.
Okay.
There's a motor, there's a roller, there's a switch, there's a cord, there's like it's very basic, very simple. And I was talking to someone I know who owns a vacuum shop, and some of the
Okay.
customers who were coming in, they were just like dragging their vacuums across town, carrying it. Most of them were older people, and they were like, I don't want to do this. I wish someone would come to me. They were just telling me like a whole bunch of different solutions. I'm like, this would actually be perfect because you start at vacuum repair, move up to like washers, dryers, all the things that you're able to fix without licensing or permits or any of that stuff. And then eventually,
Uh,
um, they could be given support to get advanced training to fix more complex appliances or
Oh.
electronics and that sort of thing. So like my main focus for all of this, at least this project right here, the repair project, sure it might help some
Mhm.
people out. They might fix their it might make getting things fixed a lot easier, but my main focus is providing like an opportunity for people to grow, learn, and make money while they're doing it. You know,
Oh.
instead of going to school for electronics or something like that where you're paying 40 or 60 or $100,000 a year.
Yeah. So then
And
there's nothing much you would even learn from that.
yeah, so this I look at it like all hands on experience, education focused, and sure it might help some people as far as like providing a service, but my main focus is like everything should be reinvested back into the people who are actually doing the repairs to learn and help them
Cool.
grow and that sort of thing. So
Thanks.
that's
That's
that.
great.
The
So
first
you do it
the
every
first
day?
feed we're gonna be doing it Monday through Thursday, 9 to 11. And the reason why it's 9 to
Okay.
11 is just because that's the only time I really have to do this, you know.
Oh, no.
But the first feature is we have a zip code entry. Users come to the home screen, they enter their zip code, they're either serviceable or they're not in a serviceable location. This is a tool that's going to be used just for the beginning because you know, you have to start somewhere, and then based on the zip codes that are entered, they're gonna verify to see if the zip code is stored in the database or not. If it is already
Okay.
stored in the database, it's gonna increment it by 1 and just say, hey, we have another user coming from here. If it's not already stored, it's gonna create the zip code and it's gonna set it to 1 and then store it in the database. And then we're gonna have an admin dashboard with a map that populates the map's zip codes based on the number of zip codes that have been entered. So you're going to see like dark green is where most of the people are coming from. You know where to expand
Okay.
next. You know, like, oh, there's 1,000 people entering zip codes in that unserviceable area, but there's only 50 entering zip codes over there. Expand up this way first and maybe hire someone out in that area. This is actually probably the most complicated part of this feature,
Okay.
if you will. But yeah, so that's the gist of it. But these events are not meant for me just to take everything and lead these projects. Like if you have a project idea, then you could just share it with everybody. And if people are like, hey, I really like that idea, then I'll do everything in my power to channel engineers your way too. Like it's all for me, it's all about the main thing of these events is us learning. Like the people who are coming together, sharing knowledge like Anton just did, you know, to avoid these race conditions and us learning from each other. And then 2 is
Mhm.
promoting open source. So if you have something that you think is beneficial and other people agree with you, then we'll make sure that we're building the project that you want to work on as well.
Oh yeah, I will pitch in if do it. Yeah.
Cool. So let's see. We have. Well, thank you for popping in.
Yeah,
Surya,
sure.
did you have anything to add on that real estate idea that you were sharing the other day?
Not really, not really. But I'm
I
more
was I
interested
was
in
thinking about it a little bit. I was like, I thought about it a
yeah,
little bit, but I couldn't think of anything unique, you know?
uh, I was thinking about the gratitude app, and how you said it was design centered, and I wanted to like do something design centered as well, like uh, using really nice graphics and CSS animations, which are like which are not too heavy, just light. Uh, yeah, that's what I was thinking about these days.
Okay. Do you have an idea you want to share with everybody tonight?
Uh, Not really. The gratitude app I just told you. I was wondering if there's a way for people to actually uh, uh, how do I put this? Actually write things that they're grateful for and store them in their own device without actually logging in. And uh, I don't know if it's possible.
Yeah, storing the stuff on their device instead of sending it to a server, you're saying, and storing it in a
Uh huh.
database.
Uh huh. Uh huh.
Yeah, that's definitely
Because
possible.
because it's just text. They just enter text, and uh, I don't know the limits of this. It's
Yeah,
just an
it's
idea.
definitely possible. I know if they're using it in the browser, then there's local storage, right? So you'll be able to store it in local storage, and if it's not anything that's really private or needs to be secured,
Mm,
then there's no issue with storing it in the browser, right? And then
mm,
I'm pretty sure like even with I haven't done it, everything I've done has been in the browser. It hasn't been real applications with like React Native or Swift or any of those tools. But I read this thing saying that a lot of these companies they will attach like a SQLite database to the front end, and then just
mm,
in case just in case the front end disconnects from the server so that the SQLite database can still collect data and work on the front end. And then when it reconnects, then it'll send everything it collected to the server when it reconnects. So
Mm.
it's definitely possible to store data on the front end. I know that for sure. How do you want to go about it? That's another question.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have another thing to add about this race condition. Uh, Instead of creating and updating, why don't we use a temporary table to store that zip code and then delete that table later on and then pass it to another permanent table, like how you add things to a shopping cart and the shopping cart is a temporary table. So just like that, the zip code will be added to a temporary table. What do you think of that? Do you think that will bypass the race condition?
We will have the race condition, but in temporary table now. So like
Okay.
doesn't matter actually.
Mhm.
Like the only way to avoid race condition is somehow to do that in atomic way. So it's like ACID. So it will be ACID. Like how would you block that record for read, for write, for both? It depends on the situation, but you somehow need to do that in order to avoid that race condition.
Yeah, it sounds
Right.
like with that, regardless, you're still going to be doing the upsert. So let's just say when the application starts up, it has a temporary table that it pulls, like instead of zip code, you would do something like DB zip code, find many, pull them all off of the database every periodically, right? And then you have like your temporary table that you update as users are. The thing is, then you're just implementing the same functionality that upsert has, but in your table, right? So it's like that's already that's right. Am I wrong?
Mhm.
If that ends up, if that's more efficient, that's an optimization for sure that I think that we should look into if this became a problem.
I still didn't get how we will avoid race condition with a temporary table.
That's
I-
what I'm saying. You'd have to custom build that, right? Mm,
Like the the race state, it's like when we have like it's one of the ways how it could be achieved. Yeah, when we have read the same record from several DB connections, like from several users, let it be like users. I mean, that's cool, like searching our zip codes, and like both users will get the same result. For example, counter 10, and both of them will increment +1. So both of them will like lead to 11. And then they just update that record, and like one user will do that the first, and other the second, or vice versa. But like both of them will update that record with the same 11 counter, and we need it to be 12. How temporary table will do that? Like I don't know, because okay, we will update temporary table with the same 11, then rewrite it with 11. But
I don't know if they see in stock or out of stock, but I still want them to be able to add it to their cart, and then later on when they check out, you know, uh, it will go out of stock. So I was thinking more of that way. That I'm making this analogy, but I don't know. Now it feels wrong.
Like,
Nah, I
we
think
will,
that's
we
just
will,
a different use case. I believe that's just a
yeah,
different
yeah.
use case
We will have a
because you don't
delay.
want to reach out to the server every single time that you add something to the cart, right? That would be
Hmm.
inefficient. But that
Hmm.
cart is unique to you. You're not sharing carts with other people, whereas with the database, these tables are shared.
Hmm.
Mhm. And we will have
Got
a huge delay in updating, and that huge delay will lead us to even worse race condition
Okay.
when we try to like to update the our main table. So because
Right.
like if we have race subdivision with condition only with 2 users, it's like the difference between 11 and 12. But if we just try to update the whole temporary table into
Yeah,
our
it'll
main one, it
be
will be like
11 and 20.
the
Yeah, got it.
difference
I get it.
between 10 and 20, for example.
Yeah, got
And
it.
it's
Got
even
it.
worse, and it will be delayed in time. So much worse.
Got it. Got it. I see
Mhm.
that. I see that.
There are several types of blocks, like because you could just block a record only for read, or
Hmm.
only for write, or for both, like full block.
Hmm.
It depends, yeah, on what we want to achieve more. Like it could be more consistent, or it could be like more like the latency is less. Yes, so like we will have less blocks in general, but it depends on our load on our application. But like despite everything, we need to somehow like address that race condition, and like if you do that earlier, it will be much better.
Hmm.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, that's a really useful method that you shared tonight, Anton. I didn't even think about.
By the way,
Um,
that Prisma docs, they have a really great explanation actually. If you just duck in, or maybe I will, if I can find that piece in the documentation fast, I will post a link in chat. They have just like simple but really great explanation of that.
mhm. Okay, cool, cool. And then Audrey, did you get your mic fixed? I don't know if you were trying to talk. I saw that you unmuted. I didn't know if you wanted to say hey. Okay, cool. Yeah, I like Prisma so far. I'm new with it, but I like it so far. Cool, cool. Audrey, if anytime you want to unmute and just say hey, feel free to. So there was one other thing I was thinking of. I definitely want to, we have this server function called verify zip code. I actually want to go ahead and, while we're still here, I want to go ahead and just call it like process zip code, because we have this method here, which is going to add zip code. So we'll go ahead and we'll extract this logic out of here to keep this very simple. And then we'll have verify zip code here. So where we are testing it against the unserviceable and the serviceable zip code. So I'm going to comment it out for right now, but I'm just going to change the names a little bit. One other thing that I was thinking of was this here is a client component, which I want to change into a server component, because I was looking at Next.js docs today, and it turns out that that you can use forms and submit buttons in server components on the server. You can have it all rendered on the server, which is going to be better for SEO. And something like this for a landing page where this is the first thing they're doing, entering the zip code, is something that you'd want to show up on in search engines. So I'm going to go ahead and just change these names real quick. If anyone has anything they want to chip in, feel free. What's this webinar you're doing?
It's a question for me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Curious.
and I missed that it was 8 AM, not PM.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. I'm studying on like courses, and like today it should be a React JS session,
Mm.
but yeah, it was in the morning. Next
Gotcha.
week I will
I gotcha.
yeah do better. Yeah, but
Does that,
I was able to join here, so everything's pretty nice.
yeah, thanks for popping in, man. Do they have inputs for zip codes in HTML?
I don't think so.
Specifically for zip codes? Let's see. Okay, they definitely have it for numbers.
At
'Cause
least
the
I
only thing,
haven't seen that on like usual sites, on usual forms, like common ones.
all right, so we have length validation.
By
Max
the way,
length.
I
I
don't
just want to make sure
remember.
because if we change this to a server component, then we're not going to have access to use form state. And to this zip code validation tool, which is totally fine. I just want to make sure we could validate the input on the server with like built-in functionality, which I believe they have, right? Size specifies
Jay,
the width in characters. Yeah, so we could get size 5. Um, or-
By the way, do we stick with like 5 digits or like 5 digits, then dash, then like 3 or 4 more, that longer version of zip?
yeah, I'm wondering if there's some sort of, we're not gonna, because I've never entered 9 digits as a zip code.
I
Ever.
Yeah.
even don't know what is my 9-digit zip code.
Yeah. Um, so we could
Jay,
go ahead. What's up?
so what validation technique did you use? Did you use Formic? What did you go with?
No, we ended up using
Zob?
Zod,
Okay.
which I really like. It's very clear and it's good for error handling. So
Oh.
it's really good for error handling. But if we're checking the validation on the front end before it's ever even sent, then we don't have to worry about that. So I just want to convert this client component back into a server component because it'll be better. The more we can keep as server components, the better, I think. Unless it's the admin dashboard. If it's the admin dashboard, I mean, it doesn't matter because we don't care if it shows up in search engines or not, right? This could be
Can
all.
I insert my 5 coins, please? Like usually, like despite any front-end validation, usually we need to do our own validation on backend side, at least before putting something into database. It's like a matter of security, because on front end it could be not validated properly or not like fully, or like something else went wrong, and it's not a reason to not like put a like proper validation on a backend side.
Are you saying to prevent people from putting like a script in the input or something?
And this as well. Yeah, so it's like
Now let me ask you this. So if we go ahead and we add a size, so we stick with our input of text and we say size 5, size 5, right? So we'd have, it has to be a number, specifies the width in characters of an input element. So that'll be 5. And then we go ahead and we do maximum number. So that's basically the length, saying 5. And then we also need to make sure.
we have min and max.
Yeah, there's min and max. But if we do size, we don't need min or max, right? Because this specifies the width in characters of an input element.
So if we have here 5, it should be like 5 anyways, like no matter what, it will be 5 or just not, the form won't submit.
Let's test it.
1%.
Let's see. Let me just get rid of this client stuff here. Form, process, zip code. All right. All right. So we have our form data. We're passing in. That's it. All right. Cool. So process zip code. And then, all right, let's test this thing out. So if it's 4 digits, yeah, so it is still submitting. That has nothing to do with, the size does not have to do with, specifies the width in characters of an input element. Oh, that's the actual size. You could see, because if I go ahead and make it like 50, the actual size, yeah, see how it gets wider? So you're right, we would need the max to the min.
Yeah, so like min max, min 5, max 5.
Yeah.
By the way,
So-
why do we use like string field, not a number, or it's number?
It requires a number, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And then, so now, please lengthen this to 5 characters or more. All right, so cool.
Yeah,
And then
this way
also,
it's really great to not query from backend if it's like something wrong with the data put into that field like on front end, but like the full validation, let it be this way, should be at backend, like for sure. We can't rely on users' data, never. Just don't trust users' data.
yeah. All right, and then we have pattern. So we could go ahead and just do pattern. Can we do, is this a string? Pattern, regular expression, specifies a regular expression, then input. Oh, all right, so I wonder if we could do digit. Let me see.
But for what do you want to add regex? Like we have
Just a regular expression for just digits, just numbers.
but we have it like a number field, no? Like if you put not type text but type number, or how it's, I don't remember.
Yeah, we have type text. We're storing the zip codes in the database as strings. You think it'd be better for number?
Like if we won't use it like a full zip, like 9 characters with a dash, we don't need a string. Why do we need a string if we like?
If we're not using the dash?
Yep. Like the only reason to do that in database, at least like on that appears on top of my mind, if you want to search this field with a like select like, and like a special part of that zip code. For example, like
So
two
max
first
length
digits,
and min length don't work with type number.
because we need to use min and max. No, Just min and just max.
I think it makes that common in the sense that. Something that is already.
Value
the
must
way
be 5.
It's
That's
like
the value.
yeah,
Yeah,
gotcha,
yeah.
gotcha. Then we need to use the text here. Yeah, but like about database, yeah. If you want to search with like in database, for example, let it be like two first digits should be like 70, and we want to grab all zip codes with two first digits 70. I don't know why, but just assume. In this way, but we could do that with like numbers with int in database as well. It will be just less and more sign. Then I don't know the reason to like to stay with the text field in database for 4 digits.
Yeah, that's a
Do we
specific
have
use case.
like 00100 zip code? Is it even possible?
I don't think so.
Because
Where it
if it's
starts
not,
with 0?
yeah, if zip codes could start with leading 0, at least one, then we should use the text field because there is no possibility to put like 01000 into database in field. But if we don't have that zip codes, then no reason to use a text field.
Hold on, let me just get this. Alright, so that should only allow. Alright. No.
I think we need to add a proper like explanation. What is the proper format?
Yeah, there's gotta be,
Or just kind of jump the road. I mean, you kind of like most of someone.
let me see.
Like, pays off and it's like, you know, like you offer to. You volunteer to clean.
Hey Audrey, you just wanna mute up if you're not gonna talk. You got some background noise over there. I'll just mute them. Let me just see if there's a tool. Is there a tool or framework that makes entering zip codes and Next.js easier? Because if there's something that already exists, there's no point in already like recreating it, you know? Validating zip codes in Next.js application easier. Some popular options include form libraries like React Hook Form, combined with validation libraries like Yup. These libraries provide a more structured way to handle form inputs, validation, and error handling. So, all right, but this comes back to
It's front end part, yep. Just Next.js. API routes, yeah, it's a new one.
API routes to handle form submissions, form data. Okay, so that's
It's the same
still
that we have.
still
Yeah?
a client component, yeah. Yeah, still client component. All right. Well, I wonder if there's a way for us to specify a message for this pattern. That's the only thing. I just want it to be clear for the users who click it. Like if
It should be the way it's like
it just says, please match the requested format, but how do the users know what the requested format is, you know?
Mhm.
Definitely required. Okay. List. Right. Okay. I mean, if we put a placeholder, uh,
It will be inside the field, I suppose. Like placeholdering.
yeah, enter zip code. So there's definitely, I mean, think about the forms that you enter zip codes in. We could explore this more. I mean, this will work for now. This is up and wired up, so it's working. We don't have to like. This is still.
Mm-hmm.
We could go and optimize later. We don't have to worry about doing it the best way. As long as it's working, it's working. No big deal. So, all right, it has to be a number. The pattern is set up. It's a server. It's a server function, so we're good. That's good. And then, cool. So that's exactly what we wanted. All right, so now we have a server component. This is good for SEO. It has really manually entered form validation. I could see why people use form validation libraries. Now we know. It's cleaner, more clear, obviously, but we'll go ahead and try to make this a little more clear. But it's still crap. And then cool. So process zip codes works, I believe. Let's go ahead and just test this bad boy one more time. So if we enter 55555, yes. And it's incrementing, perfect. All right. So I guess our next step here is to check the zip code that was entered against our serviceable zip codes. And then based on whether that's successful or unsuccessful, redirect them to either, hey, you're serviced, or sorry, you're not serviced. Hey, you're serviced, enter your information to schedule an appointment. You're not serviced, enter your information so we can let you know when your area becomes serviced. Regardless, enter your information, 2 different messages, 2 different processes. Does that make sense, or do y'all have any thoughts on that?
To be frank, I just missed it. Can you
Say what?
please? Can you please repeat it because I missed it?
So I was saying when we come into this process zip code, there's 2 parts of processing the zip code. One is what we've done so far. Check
Mhm.
to see if it exists in the database. If it doesn't exist in the database, create it. If it does
Mhm.
exist in the database, increment it. This
Mhm.
database table is what we're going to use to build the map later on to see like where people are coming from. Then after this, we have verify zip code. So this, at this point, we're actually going to pass the zip in, and we are going to compare this zip code against the serviceable zip code. So right now I just have a static serviceable. I'll go ahead and put it in this file, and we can add
Mhm.
to it. I guess we'll just make any of the serviceable zip codes numbers that are repeated.
And we will fetch it from an API in the future, if I remember
Yes.
correctly.
Yeah. Once the functionality is all wired up and working, then we'll go ahead and we'll actually,
We can just create a function, like a separate function that returns this serviceable array. So like, after all, we will just put our fetching logic inside that function, and we won't change anything. Like ideally, it should
true.
be a separate like class or something that is injected here.
Yes, yeah.
Like so, like
True. So your list of
dependency
serviceable zip codes.
inversion, just to know open close dependency inversion, single
Now
responsibility.
let me ask you this. Do you think that instead of checking if this already exists, we just populate the database of all the zip codes and we set serviceable to true or false? That way,
Uh,
you're
like
never creating one. They all
we,
already
we,
exist. You're only
we
ever
need to
updating.
we will need to update if even we just fetch all the zip codes from external API and just insert it into our database. We need a mechanism to like constantly update that. And like for me, if
Well, you would
if
actually be, so they would all initially be set to serviceable false, right? And then when we make that decision, like, oh, this part of the map is super green, there's people who want this service in this area, then we go in, we'd have some administrator dashboard where we enter a zip code to turn that zip code into a serviceable zip code, and it updates the database. So now that's actually serviceable.
then we definitely need to insert it into database and add a special mechanism to update that zip codes. For example, if like any zip codes like added to that API, we need to fetch like it could be a cron job or whatever. We just fetching all zip codes from that API, fetch all zip codes from our database, just compare them and update our database with the new ones or like delete that are not like operated anymore. Like so a mechanism should be done to update that. So our database, uh, like condition of our database will be like up to date, at least like once per hour or once per day per week. It depends on the frequency of like updating zip code status on that API where we fetching
So do you
data.
think that instead of building this verify zip code function first, that we should just find a zip code API that gives us access to all the zip codes and populate our database?
Yep, it will be like easier and faster. Like to fetch
Yeah.
API, it's like always much longer than just to fetch a database.
Mm. That's if our database is connected to our server the way it is, right? Because right now it's just a file in our server. It's a binary in our server. But if it comes to the point where we're like, hey, this thing is growing, we need to scale, you don't want the database connected to the server, right?
Yeah,
Like
but
you want it
like
separate on its own
to
scalable computers
fetch an
where it can.
API, it's like network. It adds network latency. It adds API latency, and like so you need to make request to send it. It's a time. Then API to process that request, to query their database, to prepare data, fetch it from their database, and send response to you. And it's time. And here we just fetch in our database. It will be faster. I'm just quite sure.
Now, let me just see something really quickly because I believe there's a geolocation API in the browser. So this is something, get current position retrieves the device's current location. And this might get us the zip code automatically. So instead of having them even enter their zip code, we could just have them press a button that says check serviceability or check like, are you serviced? Check. When they click
Mhm,
that check button,
mhm.
their geolocation is shared with the application and we have their zip code without them ever having to enter it.
I don't know how this functionality works exactly, but I believe that it should return only like coordinates, yeah? So it's latitude and longitude. And based on that, somehow we need to get zip code. And I
Mhm.
believe there are like lots of different APIs or databases with that information, but we need to get it somehow. I don't know, maybe it works in that way that you receive not only longitude and latitude, but like lots of more information, including zip code. Mm,
And
Just
then
need
and
to.
then also a problem with this could be if they are, let's just say like someone lives in this town, but they're at the mall in this town when they hear about, and now they're sharing their location from a town that's not there. So you never really know their real location. So we'll stick with this
Mhm.
input for now. This is just keeps it simple. You know that the
Yeah,
zip
yeah,
code
yeah,
you're
yeah.
getting is the
Just
zip code.
for first iteration. Mhm.
Yeah. Yep.
I have one more comments about that verification. Like usually verification process is done at the very top of like backend part of like uh, API endpoint processing. Let it be. So like firstly we just no, after routing, yeah. Firstly we verify and validate all the data input that we received, and only if everything is validated, that data is like valid, only after that we can move forward. Because like if data is not valid, like no point to like to query database, to do like all other business logic. We just need to return 422 and just ask user to give us proper information,
You're
proper.
saying if the zip code, because if we run form data dot get zip code and it's an actual zip code, then
Only after that we need to do like something else, yeah, moving forward. And if it's not actual zip code, and like for example we could add another field, so like if all the information that we get from a form not valid, we need to like to return an error to the user. Usually it's 422. And only if everything is valid, everything is properly set, only after that we need to, like we can, not need, we can to move forward with, especially with querying database. We just like not, like, we just can't even to query database without a proper validation prior to that query. I know that this like Prisma Absurd will just wrap everything inside to prevent SQL injections, but it's not a reason to not validate data.
mhm. Yeah, so you're saying something like this here.
Yeah. Usually you will use either some library or just something self-written, and we just can just write a class validator and put all the validation logic inside and just call it here. But like we don't use classes here, that's why it could be a function.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I got you. And then we could even do something like I think we could do something. I think we could do something like this. Um,
This way we will support
Well,
single
this-
responsibility at least. So like,
Mm,
so this function, main function, won't do everything. Yeah, we just split responsibilities, split our code. Like
then
business
we'd have
logic.
to pass the form data. We'd have to pass, this would turn it back into a client component though. That's the problem. There's gotta be, because then we'd have to pass the event into here to access the inputs.
I would probably stick to like doing everything inside that function, but just split responsibilities. So like we won't like write this part of code like validation code here, but like extract it into another class or function, whatever.
Yeah,
So
all the
this
validation.
yeah, it just could be called to like validate zip code, for example, for now. And all the validation will be like under that function. And if that function returns true, we are moving forward. If that function returns an array of errors, we just send that errors to a user to fix them.
Alright, so from a server action, if we return. Yeah, my question is just how are we getting this return back to this server action? We could go ahead and, I'm gonna look into that, unless you wanna go ahead and look into that. I wanna actually extract, I wanted to extract some of this out anyways. Let me go ahead and do, increment zip code.ts. That we're gonna do export async function. Just to keep things super clean in this function. This is gonna take a zip code string. And we're gonna do all this stuff here. Actually, clean that up. Clean that up. All right. And then this way, if upset user, then we could go ahead and return an error message and say, failed to increment zip code. Otherwise, return. We could just
Just true.
return that for now. Keep it simple.
You want just to use this response without any changes and send it back to front-end part?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering exactly how to do. So if you want to go check out exactly how to do that while I do this, that'd be cool. Because I was wondering, because if we do, my question is, the way that Next.js allows you to keep this a server component, we have our button, we click submit, we still have a form, but we have an action here where we're passing our server action into. And this component is still a server component. Now, if we take this server action out of here and we go and do like handle click and we pass the event in to access the form data, then it turns it back into a client component. We want to keep as many things, at least anything that's customer facing, and we want to be searchable on search engines. We want to keep it as a server component if we can. That's like, that's the battle. So my question is like, how do we pass the, yeah, exactly. So how do we pass the form data to the server action? Or when we click return here, return an object or whatever, how do we pass it back to this component? Because normally what I would do, what I've done is as long as everything goes as planned, then I would redirect at the end and I would redirect to like, right now we're just on the local environment. So it'd be like localhost
Mhm.
3000 that sign up or whatever, you know? So it would just redirect. We never actually go back to the component. The only way that you'd ever actually go back to the component, we had it set up that way with form state, but that was a client component. So there's got to be a way to do it. I just don't know how to do it. So if you want to, or Surya or Chaitanya, if you want to check that out, I don't know if you want to use like ChatGPT, the Next.js documentation, Stack Overflow, but like, how do we return an object from a server action to the server component that called it, if that's even possible?
Okay, I'm on it.
All right, so we have increment zip code. So here we will import increment zip code, and then we'll call that here. With our zip. And then we need verify zip code. So that's where we'll have our serviceable. So let's go ahead and say verify zip code. We have our serviceable. We're actually going to need DB. Export async function. Verify zip code. Same thing. We're passing in a zip code as a string. And we're going to say, what are we going to do? Serviceable. Equals dot find. What do we use for strings? No. I think it's find. Find. Oh yeah. So we're these are numbers, that's wrong. So that's gonna be, that's
Can
interesting.
we
So
maybe use includes
is includes the one?
like it's like in array includes?
Yeah, what's the difference between includes and find? Like when would you use one? Array, prototype. So they're both used for arrays. All right, so they're both used for numbers and strings. Includes search element.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that includes prevents you from having to do a callback and compare it, right?
Yeah, just a value. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There we go. That's cleaner. And then what does includes return if it's not true?
True
Okay,
or
so
false?
either true or
We
false.
just
Okay, perfect.
we can return the 16th line. We
Return
just
serviceable.
don't need an intermediate variable.
You're saying just return the whole thing.
Yeah. If
Yep,
it
yep.
returns bool, then we can just like verify zip code should return bool. By the way, we are
How
using
about
TypeScript.
this will be better?
Yeah. Flag variable. Yeah. Oh, flag function.
Yep, yep.
By the way, we use TypeScript here. Yeah, TSX. It's a TypeScript format, or
Yes. Yes.
then we can use like type hinting. For example, here for this function to return boolean.
Say that one more time.
If we use TypeScript here, we can add type hint for return type. For example, this function is zip to return only boolean. Boolean.
Verify, right?
Mm-hmm. Ah,
I think. Actually, because this really isn't an async function. We don't need that.
mm-hmm.
There we go.
Yeah. Now we have proper type hinting for
Yes.
argument and for return type. Like
Yes.
it's better to stick with type hinting for everything if we have TypeScript here.
Yeah, definitely. And then for increment zip code, we know, I guess once we start looking at a couple of our different functions and what we want to return from each of them, then we can create a type for what we return, especially among similar
Yeah.
functions. So
We can create a structure for that, or just return like bool or something. Yeah.
so increment is going to, it's going to return. So if response dot success is
it-
true,
Yeah, just true or false. We don't need to populate database errors for clients. Like clients
you're
should
saying
not
just
need
return
anything
false
about
here.
database or something, because it's a matter of security. That's why we could just log if something went wrong with absurd, we just log error message and return false. If everything is okay, we just return true. We don't need to return an error message like database error message. User should not know about whether it was a problem with database, with business logic, or just simple data validation. Other way, it will help hackers to just to dig into our API or application.
Yeah, gotcha.
At
So you're
least
saying just
I
true
would do
like this,
I
true
would
or
do
false?
that if I was like not on the white side.
Yeah. So you're saying like this, just log to the console
Yeah.
and then return
Mhm.
false, otherwise return true.
We just need a logger here. I don't know what works as a logger in JavaScript, but it should be one that we just can like put all our like messages to log, and it should just grab everything and log it like centralized, like in batches or once per sometime.
Yeah, I think after we actually complete this feature, after we get the database, zip code functionality, even the map setup, then we should begin looking into, because we don't want to like build too much of the application without building some logging functionality into it, right? So after we finish this feature, I think it'd be good to explore some of the different logging tools, choose one, and then implement it in this feature. And then that way we have something to implement into the rest of the application as we build it. Yeah, cool. And then, all right, so we have increment here. Actually, all the error handling is inside increment. So if something goes wrong, it would go wrong in here, right? Actually, we're returning true. So, all right, and then verify zip code. We can go ahead and say serviceable. We actually changed the name of that, right? Verify zip code, we'll call it is serviceable.
Yeah, and here
Is
it could be
serviceable.
like not only exactly zip code verification, it could be like different types of validation for different approaches. Yeah. It's much better to keep it as serviceable.
So it's serviceable. All right. Was anyone able to find that that question? We're asking about passing responses to and from the server action back to the component. Who said I got this? Someone. I don't know if it was Surya or Chaitanya. Because so if it's serviceable, then we'll do a redirect to a specific path. Else redirect to a different path. All right, so we're basically, I wonder, yeah, I wonder if there's a way to pass back. Let me check that. Next.js docs. So server actions. Okay. Passing additional arguments. Pending states, server-side validation, and handling.
Error handling. We can look for error handling. It could be there. Or revalidation data. Both of them could just lead us to an answer.
Validation, you're saying? Yeah. When an error is thrown, it'll be caught by the nearest error.js suspense boundary on the client. We recommend using try catch to return errors to be handled by your UI. Okay, so it'll throw a new error and that'll pass it back. Your server action might handle errors from creating a new item by returning a message. Yes, that's what we want
Yeah,
to
and
do.
here below, good to know. Aside from throwing and there, you can also return an object to be handled by use form state. I believe this is the answer. See
Which one?
server-side validation and error handling. We can go for that link.
Where's the use form state comment?
Good to know. Yeah, under your mouse. Good to know.
Oh, aside from throwing the error, you can return an object to be handled by use form state. So use form state, see server side validation and random. I believe use form state is going to turn it into a client component though. That's the thing I want to avoid.
We
Let's
can
see
go for
server side
server-side validation.
validation.
Yeah.
Yeah. We recommend using HTML validation like required and type email. So we're already doing that for basic client side form validation. For more advanced server side validation, you can use a library like Zod, which I was using to validate the form fields before mutating the data. But that's not necessarily what we're looking for. Use server, Zod, schema. All right, so this is the user action, getting the form data. Yeah, so you could do form validation. All right, so you could do form validation with Zod without turning into a client component. That's good to know. Because this will be way better than the validation we have. So that's good. Once the fields have been validated on the server, you can return a serializable object in your action and use the React use form state hook to show a message to the user. By passing the action to use form state, the action's function signature changes to receive a new previous state or initial state parameter as its first argument. Is a React hook and therefore must be used in a client component. Yeah, so that's the only way. So we'd have to convert it to a client component. But all right. Use form.
Yeah, but we can return that as like serializable object. That's so it's an answer. We could just pass either errors or this serializable object.
I like the serializable object more, but I just don't. I just want to keep. I want to keep it a server component if we can. That's the only thing. I wonder if there's a way that we can. So right now it's just like this super tiny little thing, right? Check zip code. I guess the best way, at least for user experience, like I feel like use form state would be the best way to go, honestly, even though, but let's hold on. State. So that's the only way to get the object back to the component that you forwarded the form. All right.
Unfortunately, I need to go. A bit late for me already. So
Where are you checking in from, dude?
I'm in Austin, Texas right now.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm gonna hop off in a minute too. It's about 11 anyways. All right, well, thanks for popping in, man. Well, I guess tomorrow we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna set up the use form state and the validation and go from
I
there.
will miss tomorrow for sure because I'm going to a concert, like stand up.
Nice.
Yeah, so we'll maybe like Friday. Do we have something on Friday?
Nothing Friday. We're just gonna do Monday through Thursday.
Then Monday, yeah. Then till Monday. I
you
could
ever-
just dug
do you ever go-
into. Maybe I will dig into something like on upcoming days, but not tomorrow evening.
Yeah, no doubt. Do you ever go to any comedy shows out there in Austin? I hear the comedy scene is amazing.
The first one will be tomorrow, actually.
Nice,
Yeah,
cool.
that's
Enjoy,
stand-up.
man.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Have a nice one. Yeah, see you.
Yeah, you too. And then, all right, so Chaitanya and Surya, what do y'all think?
Mm, okay, I just
Definitely
came back.
making some sense for me.
What's up?
It's starting to make some sense for me the way you're doing it, but I need some time to hop on things like you're trying to. Like the first class is really kicking in.
Yeah, it's a lot of information, right?
Yeah, I have so much going on in my head.
Especially because you're brand new, like never typed a line of code in your life. It's like, whoa. You said you were new, right?
Oh, yeah, kind of.
Yeah, cool. Well, I guess tomorrow's the last night of the week we're gonna be doing this. I mean, we didn't wanna turn this into a client component, but we'll go ahead and we'll just turn it into a client component. That's the only way that we're going to be able to handle the errors with form state and just handle it properly. We'll go ahead and we'll build the validation back into it. And yeah, we'll go from there. What do you think, Surya?
Yeah, I think it's great. I was under the impression that you'll be working on this repair thing on Mondays and Wednesdays. Uh, so that's why I did not join yesterday. Uh, so now it's Monday through Thursday, right? Every week.
Yeah, so Monday through Thursday. The only reason we're going to do the other application on Tuesday was because Omar said he was going to come and join. And we were actually talking about, we really want to build that project together because it's decentralized. So it's using this tool right here, libp2p. It's an open source library used to set up decentralized networks. And so we have an idea for a decentralized network that we thought would be really cool. So that's the only reason I was going to detour from this project here. Otherwise, we'll go ahead, we'll build this until I'm going to focus on this unless Omar joins us. If Omar joins us, we're going to work on that project. Otherwise, we're going to work on this project until we have like a working prototype deployed. That way, stay focused. But at least for me, I'll work on this project. If you still have ideas or people want to break off and work on other stuff, I'll still do everything in my power to feed people your way.
Okay.
Yep.
Can you commit this to GitHub? I want to take a look at it later on.
Yes, let me just make sure there's no, I don't know why. Yeah. Is serviceable and verify zip code server. We'll just call them functions. Cool.
Nice. Nice.
Cool. All right, then. Yeah, we'll meet back here tomorrow at 9 p.m. and we'll go from there.
Okay. Okay.
All right, cool. Enjoy your night, guys.
Yeah, sure. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Yes. See ya.
Yeah, sure. Good night.
Thank you.